on our broadcast, Living to the Fullness. Today we are going to consider a topic very powerful as we are still in our series number one, secret number one to living to the fullness as God. We are going to consider a topic today, opening and maintaining your account with God. Open and maintain your account with God. Our anchor scripture still in this first episode, first series is still Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. But I'm going to read a different scripture today in this particular broadcast. We'll read the book of First Kings chapter 3, verse 2 to verse 15. If you're good with the Bible, because of the time I have on this broadcast today, I'm just going to do a quick summary of what happened in that scripture. The Bible said after the death of King David, that the father of Solomon was ordained a king before the father died, and Solomon went to the place called Gibeon, where he makes sacrifice. The Bible says in this place before that it's only the high priest goes to this place to do sacrifice. So Solomon went there after the death of his father to go and sacrifice, and he sacrificed the highest offering that history has ever recorded that has been sacrificed in this place to God. The Bible says he sacrificed 10,000 burnt offering unto God, and in that night God appeared unto him and asked him, Solomon, what do you want? Ask of me what you want. So, and Solomon asked of God wisdom and the heart of understanding to be able to rule and lead his people. And the Bible said this request, it was impressive to God, and God said unto him, that because he has asked him of wisdom and an understanding heart to be able to lead and rule his people, that he will add unto him riches that no one before him or after him would able to account for. So Solomon went to the place called Gibeon to sacrifice unto God. So we are going to talk briefly on this topic today: open and maintain your account with God. Here it is. Anyone who is interested in the life of success, in the life of greatness, in the life of excellence, in the life of impact, in the life of greatness, to live to the fullest, must have a personal account with God. Anyone who is interested in the life of success, in the life of greatness, in the life of excellence, in the life of impact, who is interested to live to the fullest, must have a personal account with God. According to the banking system of the world, here it is: you cannot withdraw money from the bank that you do not have an account with. If you must withdraw money from a bank, you must have an account with that bank. And no bank makes payment to anyone until an account exists with them. Life is about transaction. Life is about transaction. Everything you get out from life is a result of what you trade in. There's something in the computer system, in the computer language, called garbage in, garbage out. What you put in is what you put out. So life is about transaction. Anything that you want in this life is traded for. It's traded. There's a trade-off. There's a law of nature called the law of trade-off. Whatever you want in this life, you can negotiate for it. Look at Solomon. Solomon needed wisdom. He negotiated something for it. So life is about transaction. You can't expect to come out great in life ordinarily. I think in my previous broadcast with you, I've been able to let you understand that life is not ordinary. Life is not ordinary. Life is not ordinary. You cannot be ordinary. You can't just be a normal life. In fact, there is no place for any normal person in life. You have to be extra normal to be able to have something great, to be able to obtain something outstanding, something extraordinary from life. So you can't expect to come out great in life ordinarily. Everything you desire to obtain from life is a transaction based on your account with the Spirit. Can I say that again? Yes. Everything you desire to obtain from life is a transaction based on your account with the Spirit. Do you need success in life? Is a transaction you obtain from the spirit world. Everything you desire to obtain from life is a transaction based on your account with the Spirit. The Bible says in Daniel, I quote this in the book of Daniel 11 verse 32b, that those who know their God will be strong and they will do exploit. This implies that only those who have an account with God would access the supernatural beyond the ordinary. Those who have an account with God, those who have something with God, those who have a record with God, will access supernatural beyond the ordinary. I said it in my previous broadcast that those who have a deep in the spiritual realm, in the spirituality, have advantage over every other person. When the other person with knowledge, just a mere knowledge in business, other person with certificate, other person with good qualification, with connection, anyone that have an account with God, that have a depth in the spiritual realm, he has an advantage over every ordinary person in life. It is out of the richness of your deposit with God that you can begin to draw strength and command influence in the physical world. It is out of the richness of your deposit with God that you can begin to draw success. It is out of your depth of richness with God that you can begin to draw accomplishment. You can begin to draw connection. You can begin to draw influence. You can begin to command at success. You can begin to command the happenings of life, the wealth that you're looking for, the connection you're looking for, the good job you're looking for, the good husband you're looking for, the good wife you're looking for, the good family you're looking for, a brighter future you're expecting, everything good of life that you can name it. It is out of your richness of your deposit with God that you begin to draw those things from. You can begin to draw strength to accomplish those things. What God will give to you is strength to be able to accomplish those things, and those strengths are not gotten from the physical alone. A lot of people have desire, they have dreams, they have visions, they have great plans, they have great potentials. These things are not enough. A great idea is not enough. A great plans is not enough. Great wisdom is not enough. Good connection is not enough. You need an account with God. Until you have an account, a backing of God in your business, forget about success. Until you have the backing of God in your profession, forget about getting to the top. Those who dwell at the top are not ordinary men. They are not common men. They are men who understand a walk with God. They are men who understand the place of the Spirit. They are men who values, who understand that operating in the high place of life. They are men who understand that attaining to the height of greatness in life is beyond the ordinary. So great plans is not enough. Oh, great qualification is not enough. Having A in your coming out first class in your studies is not enough. Some time ago, I bought a transit while I was on my way for a administration outside my state. I bought a transit and I listened to the man talking to me. We were just having a conversation. We were just asking. I was asking him things about the state. I come in because it's part of my traveling experience. That every time I travel on a journey, I like to take a tour. I like to know things about that environment, things about the people, things about the town. So I was asking him some things, and I listened to the way he spoke to me. His English was so fluent. It was so fluent in English. I listened to the terms of grammatical and speech he puts together, and my spirit says to me, this man is not just a common cab driver. He's not just a common taxi driver. And I asked him, who are you? You speak so frequent. Your language is so constructive. You speak so excellent. Talk to me about yourself. He began to tell me that he's a first class degree holder in economics. I said, what? A first class degree holder in economics? A course that is in high demand. Imagine someone coming out from a university as a first class degree in economics, and yet he's driving a taxi. I asked him why he's driving a taxi. He said he has looked for a job for 10 years of his life, and he was tired to keep carrying his file looking for a job. So he decided to also look for money and get his own taxi and start driving. And he has been driving the taxi for 5 years. That means 10 years of his life and 5 years of driving taxi as a first class degree holder in economics. I shed tears at the back of the car, and something moved me. And I spoke a word to him. I said, sir, if I am called by God, if there's an anointing on my head, if there's a debt I have with God, and my years of sacrifice and labor for God in his vineyard, and my years of denial, self-denials, working for God and serving him, if this is working in my life, I spoke to him that this will be the last time he drive taxi. I commanded a job for him, Glory be to God. I got on his number when he dropped me off. He stopped me at where I went to. He got my number and we exchanged contact. We've been speaking. It wasn't long, about 1 to 2 months after he got a job. One of the company that he applied 8 years ago, 8 years ago, called him and gave him a job. As we speak today, I say speak with him. He's one of my faithful son in the ministry. As I say connect with him today. He's doing excellently well and he's doing well. He's one of the top manager now in that company. So having good degree is not enough. Because if you don't have an account with God, your certificate can be in your box and you don't have a good job. Have you not seen that most of the people who are occupying high offices, who are on the top managerial list, who are earning better money, are those that doesn't even have certificates, are those with less qualifications. And yet, they are the ones deciding what people with high and the best qualifications are doing. It's about the account you have with God. It is good to come out from a great family. It is good to come out from a family that have great wealth, that have good name, that have great influence. But you need a personal account with God. It is good to have, great plans, good physique for life, great dreams for life. You need a personal account with God. Your parents might have had an account with God. Your parents might have had an history of a walk and a relationship with God, but you need your own. You need your own. Look at David, the father of Solomon. David was a great man who walked with God. David was a man after God's own heart. But Solomon had an understanding that whatever David had with his father ended with his father. He needs his own personal accounts with God. He needs to start his own journey with God that will sell him through his lifetime. David had an account with God, but Solomon realized that for him to be greater than his father, he needs to create his own account. For him to exceed the record that the father has made, David fought 56 battles. He never lost one. He did not come out from a great family, but he built greatness out from his life because of his work with God. David was a man that he does not venture to do anything in his life without asking of God. One time he came back from the battle and the people invaded the land. They took his wife, took his family, set the whole village on fire. Everybody was depressed. David, as a normal man, would have run after them as a warrior who was making success, the man who killed Goliath, the strongest man of his time. But David did something unique. The Bible said, and David went to inquire of the Lord. He said, Lord, should I pursue after these people? Will I overcome them? Will I overtake them? Will I recover all that they have taken from us? And the Bible said, at the fetch of this, God responded to him. He said, yes, David, my servant, go pursue after them. You overcome and recover everything that was stolen from you. So David was a man who was after the heart of God, who always put the relationship with God in his life first above everything else. He inquired of the Lord, even when he knew that he has the strength as a warrior. He did not rely on that strength. He didn't rely on that knowledge. He didn't rely on his own sword that he can fight, he can recover. He went to inquire of the Lord. Should I go after these people? Will I recover everything? Will I overcome everything? And at the strength of that, it was a success. David had an account with God, but Solomon realized that for him to be greater than his father, he need to create his own account. Listen to me. You might have come from a great family. Your parents might have been wealthy, might have been influential people. They might have done great things out of life. But listen, you were not meant to be like your father. You were not meant to end like your father. You were meant to be greater than your father. You were meant to record success that are far outweigh the history of what you were born to see. And for you to do this, you need your own personal account with God. There are things God will not spill to your life as a result of your father's work with him. Your father might have been a priest who loved God, respect God, serve God, and God was happy with your father, with your family. But listen to me, if you must outweigh record that your parents did, you must be a person that have an account with God personally. Many people just exist on earth. Many people just exist. They do business, pursue material things, pursue after things that they feel it worth it. They don't have a registered trademark and identity with divinity. Until you have a registered trademark and identity with divinity, there are things you can't command personally. There are things you can't demand personally, and there are things you can't accomplish in life until you have a registered trademark, an identity with divinity. I know God created every human being, but God doesn't know everybody personally. We must work out our salvation personally. We must work out our faith personally. We must negotiate things that we want from life personally. Do not be deceived. Don't be deceived. Life is not so. Things don't happen like that as you see. I'm telling you from my years of work with God as a priest, life is deep spiritual, and everything you want in this, I teach my children, my spiritual children, not to rely only on the grace they see in my life. I may come and pray for them. I may come and speak word to them, and things work, things open for them. I tell them, as I mentor people, as I help people and mentoring them to walk through life, I tell them every one of them must have an account with God. Don't just rely on the grace of the coverage that is upon your life. Don't just rely on the grace of your spiritual father as all in all. I know there's a place of spirituality, there's a place of spiritual fatherhood. It's a necessity, but there's a level it will get to, and there's a level it will expire in your life. It's only your account with God that must remain. Look at a man like Hezekiah. The Bible records in the tail end of Hezekiah's reign as a king, a time came that he was supposed to die. He was sick. He was supposed to die. And the Bible said, and God sent prophet Isaiah to Hezekiah to tell Hezekiah that Hezekiah should put his house in order, should arrange things that he's going to die. The Bible said immediately after prophet Isaiah left him, Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and cried to God. He said, Lord, remember my account of work with you. I have saved you all the days of my life. I have walked faithfully with you. I have defended the cause of your kingdom. I have put you in front for the people. I have uplifted righteousness in the land. I have put you, the people before you, and I've always defended the cause of the kingdom. How can I die now? I want to live. The Bible says, and immediately God heard him, and he added extra 15 years to his life, and immediately sent an information, a message to the prophet. He said, go back and tell the king that I have added extra 15 years to him. Despite the fact that these years was the years that Hezekiah bred one of the worst king, though he later turned the best king in the land of Israel. But something happened that out of his work, his account with God, he was able to negotiate things. He was able to transact things out of life. Listen, a day of battle will come to you. A day of reckoning will come. A day of affliction will come. Challenges of life is inevitable. Affliction comes to everybody, irrespective of whosoever you are. But what gives you advantage and age to succeed in it is your account with God. On the day of reckoning, who will you call to? There are days that people fail. There are days that your loved one will not be there. There are days that people who seem to be close will be far. The only thing that you will need to reckon, to bring out, to scale through life is your account with God. What do I mean to open your account with God? Number one is to create and build a relationship with God. That's why I picked this particular scripture in this first series of Living to the Fullness as God being the primary secret, the ultimate secret to all success and fulfillment. Matthew chapter 6 verse 33. To seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and every other thing will be given to you. To open an account, to open and maintain an account with God means to create and build a sustainable relationship with God. Is to build a relationship with God daily, every day of your life. To build a relationship with God that nothing on earth can interfere. Number two, to create and sustain an intimacy with God. God creates you to be loved. One of the reasons why God creates you is so that He can feel your love, to be intimate with you. God wants to hear your voice first thing in the morning. The voice of God is the first voice you should hear. Before you talk to your wife, before you talk to your business partner, before you talk to your colleague, before you think of anything else about life, the first person you should talk to in life is God. God demands that intimacy from your life. God expects that intimacy from you. So to open an account with God is to create and sustain an intimacy with God. My question to you today is, how intimate are you with God? There are many people that are far away from God. Far away from God. That's why they call upon God on the days of adversity, and God seems to be far away. They call upon God in the days they need God most. God seems not to answer, because their voice is not regular to God. The voice of God is not regular to them. So even if God comes to speak to them, they won't understand, because they are not used to it. Listen, you get to know someone more intimately the more you spend time with the person. You got to know your wife more intimately the more you spend time with your wife. You got to know your children more intimately the more you spend time with with the children. So this ought to be the same thing that happens between you and God. You ought to spend more time with God. You ought to be more intimate with God. So to create an account with God is to create and sustain an intimacy with God on daily basis. One of the discipline I run through my life every day is that I don't wake up from my bed, go out on a business without talking to God first. And I don't go to sleep on my bed without talking to God. So I hear the voice of God. I talk to God first thing and I talk to God last thing. He's the voice I hear first thing in the morning and it's the voice I hear last before I go to bed. Number three, to have an account with God is to have a personal dealings with God. Look at what happened to the book of what happened in the book of Acts of the Apostles, chapter 10, on verse 1 to 4. Peter had an account with God. Peter has a personal walk with God. So when God spoke to him while he was at Joppa, he heard the voice of God and he was able to bring salvation to the people that salvation was not originally intended or meant for. So to have an account with God means to have a walk, a personal dealings with God. Now, next one is to create and build your history and record with God. To create and build your history and a record with God. Every human being on earth need this history with God. Every human being need this record with God. Now, history and record is very important in life. If you want to go and apply for a job, when they ask you for reference, what they actually ask for is your history, your record. They want to know your record in your previous workplace so that they can know, they can validate your character, they can validate your ability, your competency, if you'll be able to handle the responsibility, the role that will be given to you in a new workplace. And as well, they can validate your character, how charitable you are, how competent you are, how trusted you can be. So they seek your reference. So history and record is very important, even with your journey with God. It is going to be out from your history and record with God that you can command things. You can avert adversity in the days of adversity. Hezekiah was one of the men. He called upon God in the days of adversity because he had a relationship with God. He had a record with God. He had history with God. It is out of his own work with God, out of his own history with God, that he affected adversity. Next one is to have stature with God, is to build structure with God. There was a man called Cornelius. The man prayed every day. The Bible let us understand that his prayer builds stature before God. Now, listen, when you have an account with God, a relationship with God, you build stature before God. That when you call upon God, your voice is not strange anymore to God. That God has been hearing your voice all through, every day. And anytime you call, even in a desperate situation, God will arise for you. Is to have stature with God, to have dedication with God, is to have a deposit, to register an identity with God, to register an identity with God, to have an identity with God. God created everybody, but God doesn't know everybody. You may know God, but the question is, does God know you? Until God knows you. Remember, I told us something before in my previous broadcast that if you trust God, God will bless you. But if God trusts you, it will make you a blessing. God will not trust you except He know you. You can't trust someone you don't know. That's the truth about life. You can't trust someone you don't know. So God need to trust you to make you a blessing, but He need to know you to trust you. So to open an account with God is to have a deposit, to register your identity with God. And also is to put your name in the eternal book of life. Is to put your name in the eternal book of life. The Bible written in the book of Revelation, it said, those whose name are not written in the book of life shall not appear before the Lamb, shall not appear before the holy throne of God. So to have an account with God is to consciously, intentionally, while you're still alive, while you're still breathing right here on earth, put your name in the eternal Lamb's book of life. The question is, you may want to ask me, Pastor, man of God, why should I have an account with God? Why should I open an account with God? Number one, you open an account with God because life is personal. Destiny is specialized. Life is personal. Destiny is specialized. Life is personal. Destiny is specialized. You don't share your destiny with anybody. Your destiny is your personal responsibility. Destiny is personalized. Even an identical twin doesn't share the same destiny. Every human being on earth have different destinies. My destiny is my destiny. Your destiny is your destiny. So you need to open an account with God because your life with God is personal. What God wrote in my own book of destiny is not the same thing He wrote in your own book of destiny. The vision I have to fulfill, the assignment that is upon my life for me to fulfill is different from your own. It is different from the one you have to fulfill. So you have to open an account with God so that you can have access to fulfill your destiny personally. Number two, your output in life is solely determined and dependent on your input with God. You need to open an account with God and maintain your account with God because your output in life is solely determined and dependent on your input with God. Number three, life will pay you, treat you, and respond to you based on the standpoint of your relationship and your depth with God. Can I say that again? Your life, what happens in life will pay you, treat you, and respond to you based on the standpoint of your relationship and the depth of your walk with God. This is why you must open an account with God. You will not have something different out from life except from the depth of the relationship you have with God. Life will respond to you. When you see people call upon God and it look as if God is far, it's because their relationship with God is far. When you see people seem to accomplish great things in life and the rest other set of other people seem to accomplish little or nothing out of life, is dependent on their relationship. It's out from the standpoint of their relationship and their depth of working with God that they will withdraw from life. For instance, you can't have 1 million in your bank account and you go to withdraw 10 million. No, it's not possible. What you have in your bank account, your physical bank account, is what you draw from. You have 10,000, you withdraw 10,000. You have $1 million, you withdraw $1 million. Whatever is the amount you have in your account is what you draw from. The same thing is applicable to the spiritual realm. Oh Lord, I need a big car. Oh Lord, I need an excellent life. Oh Lord, I need a great future. I need a bright family. I need a huge contract. I need a rapid promotion. I want to get to the top of management in my company, in my corporation. I need to establish my own company. But the truth is that what you're asking for does not have a depth in God. The depth of your accounts with God does not have what it takes for you to withdraw such a physical accomplishment. So it won't happen. It is only the depth that call out to the deep. It is only the deep that call out to the deep. It is only the deep that call out to the deep. If you are shallow, walking without an account with God, you will remain shallow in life. If you are shallow in life, walking without a deep account with God or any account with God, you will remain shallow in life. There are no two ways about it. I have to tell you the truth because the essence of this program, Living to the Fullness, is to reveal the truth to you and put you on the right path to be able to live your life and live to the peak of it. And one of it is that you must have an account with God. So it is only the deep that call out to the deep. What you're looking for deep things out from life. You're looking for great things out of life and you don't have deep things in God. You can't accomplish them. You have to first of all deposit before you withdraw. Next one is that you will experience an overflow, a run over of God's blessing in your life when you have an account with God. Psalm 23 verse 5 says, He lead me on the path of righteousness. He lead me on the path of righteousness. He lead you to the greener pasture. He doesn't allow you to want. The Lord, when He's your shepherd, you will not lack anything good of life. He leads you on the path of righteousness. He leads you to the greener pasture. He protects you from evil because you have an account with Him. Answers to prayer, progress, growth, speed, and all-round success is obtainable based on your personal account with God. I repeat that. Answers to prayer, progress, growth, speed, and all-round success in life is obtainable based on your personal account with God. On the day of adversity, in the time of emergency, when bush comes to shore, God looks at your account with Him and responds speedily. In the days of adversity, the way human beings seems to be too far, God looks at your account with him. God looks at your record with him. God looks at history that you make with him, the depth of sacrifice that you work for, and come to your aid spiritly and come to your deliverance spiritly. I've entered a car and I've experienced some accident where people are in a desperate situation. They don't know what to call. It is at this time that God look at your account of work with him and deliver you from death, and deliver you from accident, deliver you from casualty. You hear history, you hear testimonies of people. You say, I enter a car, a transit, and they had an accident. Everybody died and I survived. People have come out from accident, terrible accident with no scratch, when every other person, they are either gone, they are badly injured, and they are back in the hospital. Now the question is, what made this person escape from such a tragic situation with no scratch, no death? Is the depth of ease of our accounts with God. Because on the day of adversity, on the day whereby you can't help yourself, where people can help you, is when your relationship with God matters, when your account with God matters. Your account with God has a national value. Your account with God has a national value. If every human being have an account with God, we won't experience a bankrupt nation. Some things we pray for, we won't even need to pray for such things. If me and you develop and open an account and maintain a healthy account with God, there are things of life we will not pray for. We will not need it, because God will just flow to you as you maintain a relationship with him. There are many open doors you're praying for. It's just because there's a bankrupt of relationship with God, so it can't come to you. Your account with God will transcend generation. Your account with God will transcend generation. I love to study the account of the history of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the proceedings of the descendant that come out from him. They keep transacting blessings and riches and prosperity from one generation to another, because they, each and every one of them in each generation, understand the place of God, understand the place of having an account with God. Abraham had an account with God. Isaac came and continued with that account. He has his own personal account with God, and Jacob came on the same path. Joseph came on the same path, and everyone till David came on the same path. Even Jesus Christ, who come out from the genealogy of David, came on the same path. And you would wonder why things work with them, why things work for them. I read a popular history told by a great man of God, who by God's glory is now with the Lord, late Archbishop Benson Idahosa. He said sometime when he started in his ministry, he was privileged to go and preach with the white, in the white country, in the with great men of God in the class of Benny Hinn, late evangelists. We had Bonke and other great men in history. He said he watched the minister with a flip of their hands. People were getting healed. Miracle was taking places every day. I mean, we did just a declaration, open doors to people. People go and see breakthrough. Great things was happening. But him, he fasted and prayed for weeks for the program, and there was no single miracle, no single breakthrough, no single testimony. And he came and sat down and asked himself a question: what is happening to me? And at the point in time, he couldn't understand, he couldn't have the answer by himself, and he went and asked one of the man in person of Benny Hinn. And he said, the man asked him a question. He said, who is your father? Who was your father? Who are your genealogy? Who are your foundation? What are your foundations? And he began to reckon on those questions. When he came back to his senses, he began to think, who was his ancestors? Who was his grandfathers? Who was his forefather? They were herbalists. They were traditional worshippers. He said, how can you expect power? How can you expect the flow, the move of God, when your ancestry did not have an account with God? All of them were working against God. They were not in tune with God. So how can you expect to pray, to see the miracle of God at instance? You are the first person to open the ground, and you must sow, you must work, you have a great work to do. He said from that time, he began to sow, he began to work, he began to till the ground until the ground opened for him, and his children, both spiritual children and his biological children that he raised up, he makes sure that he had an account with God. And as he speaks today, the rising of Christianity in Africa can be traceable to the work of the late Archbishop Benson Idahosa. What is your account with God? Your account with God will transcend generation. I want to live a life that even when I am gone, when I am dead, they can still call on the God of Isaiah James, and miracles still happen. That God can still look upon my account and bless my generations. I know I'm going to mentor my children, biological children, and my spiritual children. I am in the quest as we speak to have and maintain an account with God. But beyond where their strength work, I want to leave a record, an history, a foundation of a work with God and a healthy account with God, that by my name, you can call my name, you can be free to call. By the sacrifice I work with him, you can withdraw from it, even when I am gone. Your account with God will transcend generation. God have respect to those who have an account with him. He gives hearings to their voice. There are people whom God cannot stop listening to them. There are people whom God cannot cease to listen to their prayer and answer their prayer, because they are open and maintain a healthy account with God. It might be by their reason of their work with him, by their reason of sacrifice, the things they have denied themselves, and the quest to pursue the kingdom and maintain God, obey the voice of God, and keep the quest with him. But God have great respect to those who have an account with him. He gives hearings to their voice. To their voice. He can't sit in heaven and listen to them speak and they don't respond on it. He can't sit in heaven and hear them pray and he doesn't send angels to answer them. So what is your relationship with God like? Do you have an account with God? Your account with God has eternal value. The final judgment will be made based on your account with God. And the final judgment is your name in the Lamb's book of life. Your account with God has eternal value. The final judgment will be made based on your account with God, based on the depth of the account you have with God. So the question is, do you have account with God? How healthy is your account with God? Before I bring this broadcast to a conclusion, let me show you how to open and sustain an account with God. You open and sustain an account with God, first of all, by surrendering your life to God, by turning your life over to God, by being born again. This is not a new thing. You've been hearing me say, you follow me on my channels, you've been hearing me say that the beginning of a walk with God is by surrendering your life to him. John chapter 3 verse 3, Jesus speaking to Nicodemus, he said, you cannot come to God except you're born again. So you open an account with God by surrendering your life to God, by being born again. Lord, it's over with me. I came to that point of decision in my life. I was a bit stubborn. I was stubborn. If you know my history, you read my story in my books, I was stubborn with God. When I realized that God called me, I was stubborn. I didn't have to do anything to do with God, but I come to a point that I have to resolve, because I saw that it was a quest in vain. It is in vain for a man to live his life without God. Life without God is an empty life. So you have to be born again. You have to come to a point that you say, Lord, I am done with myself. I've surrendered my life to you. Please take over my life from now and let me live a Zoe life, the life that you give to me. That's how to open an account with God. That's number one. Number two, you open and maintain your account with God with your service and dedication to God and the household of faith. Your service and dedication to God, to the things of God, and to the household of faith. I know a lot of people have radical Christianity. A lot of people have radical walk with God, have radical service to God. But listen to me. There's no point of you arguing about your walk with God, about your faith in God. God is real. He listens to your service. He wants you to save him, and your accounts with God will be open and maintained by your dedication to God, by your service to the household of faith. No matter who you are, no matter what you say, God cannot ignore those who have faithfully served him. There's a place of service and there is a reward for service. If you sacrifice for God, you can never go unrewarded. You open and maintain an account with God by sacrifice. By sacrifice. By sacrifice to God. By sacrifice to humanity. By sacrifice in obedience to God's instruction. By sacrifice in obedience to keep to faith. By sacrifice to uphold the standard of God, to enforce the principle of God in your workplace, in your environment, at any point in time, in the face of influence that you are. You open an account with God by sacrifice, like what Solomon did. Solomon sacrificed 10,000. That's burnt offering. God respects sacrifice. Sacrifice is the voice that call out the deep. The Bible says in the book of 1 Kings chapter 3 verse 27 that there was a time when God asked the children of Israel to go fight battle with the king of Moab, as at those times. And the Bible said the battle was sore, the battle was strong. God guaranteed the children of Israel victory in the battle. But the Bible said when the king observed that the children of Israel are about to win to have victory, to win that battle. The Bible says he took the first son who was supposed to reign in his place after his death, and he sacrificed it. And immediately an indignation turned against the children of Israel. God turned against his own people, the people he guaranteed success in the battle because of sacrifice. So sacrifice is a voice. God have respect for sacrifice. Sacrifice is a voice that call out the deep. Both devil and God respect sacrifice. So when you sacrifice, you have called out the spirit. When you sacrifice, you have called out the deep. This is why God came to Solomon in the dream. He said, you have called me. By the reason of your sacrifice, you have called me. What do you want me to do for you? And Solomon began to negotiate. He began to transact things. I told us before that life is a transaction. He began to transact from the depth of his sacrifice with God. He transact ignorance for wisdom. He transact poverty for wealth. He transact untimely death for a long life. He transact a flourishing kingdom for a life of penury and poverty by the reason of his sacrifice with God. Listen to me. You're hearing my voice this morning. No matter what you're going through, no matter the level of life you are, no matter the family you were born into, no matter the foundation, no matter the economy crisis of your nation, you can transact good life by the depth of sacrifice with God. You can transact anything that you want in this life by the depth of sacrifice. You need to open that account with God. You need to transact everything you want. You can negotiate things. There's no point of you wasting your life going through a hard situation. I just give you an understanding this morning that life is a sacrifice. Life is a transaction. You can transact everything you want with God by sacrifice. There's no depth of wealth that God cannot give to you. There's no amount of goodness of life that God can give to you. If you understand how to transact, you can transact from it. So you open and maintain an account with God by covenant. God is a God of covenant. He made a covenant with Abraham. He made a covenant with Isaac. He made a covenant with Jacob. He made a covenant with series of people, and God does not break his own covenant. If there's no covenant working for you, there's going to be a covenant working against you. If there's nothing working for you, something will work against you. Maybe your father did not have a covenant with God. From where you come out from, there was no covenant. You have to voluntarily, intentionally, personally take yourself to God and make a covenant with God. This is how covenant helped Isaac. There was in the book of Genesis chapter 26 from verse 1, the Bible said a time came when there was famine in the land. Everybody ran helter-skelter. There was scarcity of money, scarcity of food, no water in the land, like what this country, Nigeria, is going through right now. The Bible said at that point in time, everybody was running away from that country. Everybody was running away from that land. But the angel of God appeared unto Isaac and told Isaac, stay in this land, for in this land I will bless you, not because of your effort, not because of the things you're going to do, but because of the covenant I had with your father, and because of the covenant you have come to with me to strengthen the covenant I had with your father. Stay in this land and I will bless you. The Bible says, and Isaac in verse 14, 15, Isaac stayed in that land. He sowed in the land where there was scarcity, where there was a famine, where there was economic crisis, no water, no food, no money. And Isaac stayed in that land by the reason of the covenant he had with God, and he prospered in that land. There is no land that is fallow. There is no land that is hard. It is only what works on your life that determines what comes through your life. He stayed in that land and he made it in that land. He was so great and mighty that everybody envied him. There's no life you can transact for if you have a covenant with God. Covenant protected Isaac. Covenant still can protect you. Men of covenant don't die untimely. Men of covenant don't endure affliction for long. Though affliction may come to them, but covenant will bail them out. You open and maintain an account with God by faithfulness to God. Are you faithful to God? Are you faithful to humanity? Faithfulness is a currency. One of the series of teaching in this program, Living to the Fullness, I will teach you to understand the place of faithfulness. Faithfulness is a currency both to God and both to humanity. If you're a faithful man, God will trust you. If you're a faithful person, people will trust you. I've said this before in one of my previous broadcasts, that if people trust you, if you can have the trust of people, they can bank with you. They can pour resources to you. They can pour wealth on you. In even God, if you're faithful to God, God will trust you. God will bless you, and it will make you a blessing. So you can open an account with God and maintain that account with God by being faithful. He said, Lord, I have been faithful to you. I need this, and God will give it to you. You open and maintain account with God by constant and always seeking the face of God through prayer and fasting. The Bible speaking in the book of Matthew chapter 19 verse 21, it says, "This kind goeth not out but by fasting and prayer." Constant seeking the face of God in prayer and in fasting strengthen your relationship with God, strengthen your account with God, keep your account with God floating, keep the relationship with God healthy, that in the days of affliction you may not even need to call upon God again, but your voice is recognized in the spiritualities, in the heavenlies. Finally, you open and maintain an account with God in obedience, keeping to the dictates of God, keeping to God's commandments, keeping to God's instruction, keeping to God's ordinances, keeping to God's rules, keeping to the ways of righteousness with God. You open and maintain an account with God. Brethren, I want you to understand this morning, today, in this broadcast, that if you must live to the fullest, if you must be successful, if you must be great in this natural world, you need God. And you need to open your accounts with God. You need to maintain that account with God every day of your life. And you will never be frustrated in this life. Thank you very much for staying tuned to Living to the Fullness today. Please like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channels and other channels, social media handles, and follow through this series. Our duty is to teach you the secret you need to live your life successfully. I am Pastor Isaiah James. Thank you for staying tuned.